All right. Thanks everyone for attending this morning. This is the kickoff to the sourcing hypercare meeting. We're joined with Rich Kanya from CGI and Benita. She's going to be recording the meeting for us this morning. So thank you, Benita. So we're going to run through the agenda for sourcing. We're going to be creating a sourcing project, preparing the RFX, and we're going to add some questionnaires, add a public posting document. We're going to submit it and publish it and see what that looks like on the public posting page. And then we're going to respond to it with electronic response from a supplier and just go through one of the issues that we have identified with responding to a solicitation with more than 10 grids. We're also going to award it to a supplier and then create the contract and then open it up for any questions. So before we get started, does anyone have any questions? We can go around the room and introduce ourselves. I'll start first. My name is Tracy Robinson. I'm the Sourcing and Contracting Support Manager for current eVA and new eVA. And then I will pass the mic to Rich to do his introduction.
Rich Kanya from CGI, functional lead for sourcing and contracting and vendor portals. So yeah, I think that's enough. I think I know most people on here. So
all right, so I'm just randomly pick people. So I guess to my right, I have Pamela Copeland. You would unmute.
Yeah, Pamela Copeland. I'm statewide sourcing and contracting officer. I've been at DPS since 2019, and this is the second time I've had to learn eVA.
Oh, so I'm bound to stick then. All right, and then we'll have Benita.
Hey, Benita Jones, support specialist, kind of do a little bit of everything, dibble and dabble. So
thank you, Benita. And we have Gabriel.
Good morning, Gabriel Washington. I am the statewide sourcing contracting officer. I started in eVA customer care back in 2006. I was one of the originals that worked with Tracy. And I'm just returning back to DGS, and it looks like I came back at a good time. We got to start over again.
yeah,
right on time, Gabe. All right, then we have Kimberly Mitchell.
Good morning, Kimberly Mitchell, PCR Account Executive.
All righty, and Tracy.
Tracy Rand, Sourcing and Contracting Officer for the DGS.
All righty. And Miss Felicia.
Good morning, Felicia. I am an AE in PCR.
All righty, thank you, ma'am. Next up, we have Joanne.
Good morning, Joanne Bryant. I am a statewide sourcing and contracting specialist, and I do public safety contracts.
All right, good morning. Then we have Kim Brewer.
Good morning. Thank you, Tracy, for doing this, because some of these people I am seeing a face and name for the first time, even though I have been with the program for 13 years. COVID robbed me of getting down on the 6th floor as much as I want to. So good morning. And I'm just observing because I want to make sure I have that knowledge base, because I'll be working with the suppliers.
All right, awesome, awesome. Next, we have Sharon.
Good morning, Sharon Quick. I'm a statewide sourcing and contract officer. I've been with DPS for almost a year and a half now.
All right, thank you. And we save the best for last, Mr. Lauren Shaw.
Good morning, Lauren Shaw with PCR, Local Government Account Executive, Central Region.
All righty. That'll kick off the going around the room for the meet and greet this morning. So now we will jump into the sourcing and contracting application. So I'll kick it over to Rich.
All right, let me figure out how to share my screen with Zoom. Oh. All right. All right, let me log in as a user that's going to be actually doing the work instead of just administrator. So actually, all right, so I'm in as a sealed sourcing, a buyer. That's who we're going to be mostly dealing with. So I figured I'd just start here. What are they gonna see? How are they gonna be able to access everything? How they're gonna be able to search? We'll go through browse, and I will start that now. So here's the browse page, and for most new users, they're not going to have anything. The users that have open solicitations right now that are going to not close before we go live, they're converted solicitations from what we call Advantage sourcing and contracting now, but Advantage, they'll be converted. They'll be listed here in their section. So for here, keywords, it's exactly what you would kind of search for your title. Service, and it'll give you kind of a type ahead, and you'll be able to find your solicitation. For this, it's maybe limited to this user, but I can show that later. This is for sourcing projects. Now, it's not going to be for RFX ID or something like that. So this is more of the kind of the project level search. Eventually, after day one, we'll be able to grow it into, being able to search for your specific RFX ID. But for now, this is all just project level. So let me create a project and start, and then I think it'll make a little bit more sense. Do a competitive main. So users will have their profile set up, the main organization that they're with. If they need to do it on behalf of, that can be updated in their profile, and then they'll be able to choose from the drop down. Main commodity, any commodity that they would do. For the main commodity, it's a only one value drop down, where other commodities you can pick more. And this is how a user is going to buy to build their supplier list. So if you save, here, and this is where, and I hope I'm just kind of reiterating what everybody has kind of already seen. Hopefully you're not seeing this for the first time. But with what project type you pick, this is how the left-hand navigation will be built. So for the project level, is there any questions that you think that you've had while testing? Any questions that you think will come up when we start triaging issues with the new system?
I'll go. So
I expect you to be in Kimberly to be active through this demo.
yes, I'm sharing information. So I just want to talk about the project start date. So
Yes, yeah, that has come up.
Yes. Mhm. So if you could point to that project start date.
Right.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so the project start date is the date that the project was created. So that's not the solicitation or the RFX begin date. So this is the date that you came into the system and you created this project. So I just wanted to,
Yeah.
distinguish that.
Right. The project is the overall how you're going to handle this, project, I guess, for lack of a better term. This is how all the team members that are going to be part of it. If there's a schedule, the documents, all project level documents, all the suppliers. Once you get to prepare RFX is the solicitation part, but this is how you're going to manage your project. And this is all that information there. So
I have a quick question.
Oh, Kim. Yes.
So, when you're designating the commodity codes, that doesn't transfer to the actual RFX, correct? This is just identifying codes that represent what your project is going to cover. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
I just thought that was worth mentioning
Yep.
too, because I was confused when I was doing testing and I was like, why did it copy over? But okay.
Yep.
And it builds your supplier list.
Oh, it does from the project level, it'll build the
Yes.
supplier list?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
if you add, let's say that you picked the main code and there was no other commodity codes.
Right.
And then when you went to the RFX project, you could add additional codes by the item if you're, if it's an IFB or,
Right.
whatever. And then it would build it even further. So it'll build from either place.
No. It'll
No.
build from the project level.
Oh, so
It's
if you pick different codes for like line items, right? So let's say we're planning a conference and we just pick, conference planning, meeting planning, but then you don't specify, maybe like catering and AV and whatever else. It has to be at the project level.
yes.
Oh,
To build the supplier list, because if you come to the preparer, and we're getting a little ahead, but I think this is a really good question. So when we're coming to the RFX, it doesn't come back to the project level. Like anything you add at the line item level doesn't come back to the project.
No, that's like, yeah, this is why I was asking that question. Cause
That's a good question.
Yeah, this is new for me. So thank you.
Right.
You
So
can
it's
come back to the
really
other-
important at the project level to make sure that your codes are good and on point. And okay.
Or you can
Yeah.
come back to the project level and under the other commodities, add that commodity code
Right.
and click the save button.
So the scenario would be, I started this with just like your scenario, main commodity. I had one, I come to the prepare RFX and I add, maybe a specific, I can come back to the project level, update, with the other commodity codes, save it. It'll rebuild the supplier list with the new codes. And then once you're ready to submit, then all of those suppliers will get notified. Does that make sense?
Do
Kim?
we know if I don't, because the training assets got redone, do we know if that was pointed out in the training assets at all?
No, we
I'm not
talked
sure.
about adding codes, adding additional codes, but we didn't specifically talk about the specific.
That the
scenario
supplier
that you
list is built off of the project
Level code.
Yeah, we did
Okay.
talk about that, yeah, but we didn't
Okay.
talk about the specific scenario that you just mentioned.
Okay,
So
all right.
rebuilding. Okay.
yeah. Thank you.
Sure. Good question. All right. So project level. So team members, it'll be the person that creates it will be considered the responsible. There's other what do you call profiles that you can add. So if I was to add here, I could be a SME. SME is a read-only role. So if you wanted somebody to look through, review your, sourcing project, you can give them, you can add them through here and then give them the SME role. You could also, there's a contributor role, which also allows to make updates. But let's see if, no, you don't have one, Kim? Oh yeah, there you are. then we could update to contributor, and then Kim would be able to go in and make updates as well. So there's only one responsible. There can be multiple SMEs and contributors, but Robin will be the main owner of this project. Schedule, I'm not going to talk too much about.
Hey, Rich,
Yeah,
it's Kimberly. Go back to team members for me, please.
sure.
So, and this question came up this week. So
Okay.
so if you have a procurement department and I'm the responsible party and I issue the solicitation and then I'm out for a week and an addendum needs to be issued, do those individuals have to be under the team members in order to have that accessibility to be able to make a change to my sourcing project?
I have to just make sure, because I know there's an organization role as well. It's not something I've looked at in a while, because I thought the org took care of it. I'll verify that in our next meeting. I'll answer that question for sure.
Okay, because Gary and I tested it, I think it was yesterday or the day before, but I was thinking because of our robust access is why he was able to go in there and do something with my RFX. He was able to award it. He was able to log in and access it and award it, but I didn't know if that was because we are super users and have admin access, or if that's going to be the case when we go live.
Yeah, I'll verify that. That's not
Because if,
something I've
if
looked at.
so, that's something that we as account executives need to know to tell our people.
Right.
Hey,
Okay,
Rich,
thanks.
Rich, this is Felicia. To piggyback on
Hey.
that. So if the responsible person, as Kimberly just said, goes out,
Mhm.
couldn't the contributor, because you said that they have editing rights, couldn't the contributor be the one to go in and make the amendments?
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Kimberly was.
My question is, do they have to be listed here as a
on here.
contributor
Right,
in order
right.
to have that access?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, I was just trying
That's a
to
good question.
ask for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I'll take a look, Kimberly, and I'll let you know.
And also,
Thanks, Rich.
Yeah.
also, I think the contributor couldn't submit. I think when we were talking about on the contract side, the contributor could go in and edit, but they could not submit the contract. So I'm assuming this is the
Okay.
same. It would be the
Okay.
same format for the
Yeah.
sourcing.
Yeah, we can verify that.
Okay.
Documents, schedule, I'm gonna skip over. We're not gonna, I mean, you can use it. It's there, it's available, but yeah, if there's questions that come about that, we can handle those then. But document, this is how you can add project level documents. And this can be used to bring down to the sourcing event, or to the RFX. Let me one update that we did, it's automatic. Before we updated it, it would set the status in draft, then you'd have to go in and actually like approve it. For now it's set to approved. I think you added the document. I think you don't need somebody else to approve it for you. So but if there's workflow needed, then what you can do is just set up and set it to draft. And if somebody else is going to, say you're the contributor and somebody else is going to, make the final decision, you can do it that way. But most people are just going to add a document and move on. So it's left as approved. Here again, this is the supplier list. It's more than 150. How many? 533. You can add from here. See all, but when you come here, it'll have the commodity code, and it'll build from there, and you see everybody selected. But if you want somebody else, say, search, you can either search by supplier, you can search by, different code, then you can select them here. close, and then save. And when you're talking with people or helping them, saving a lot is not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. Because Evalua does love it save. Save and close would actually leave the project and go back to the browse, but saving, I would say save often. That would be my pitch.
Yes, and on this step, you would want to hit
Oh.
the save button because that would show your supplier that you added.
Right.
So if you don't hit the save button after you bring your supplier back, you will not see them here on the list.
All right. Any questions, more project level questions? Because now I'm going to get into creating the sourcing. No? Okay. All right. RFX. You can create your type, bid, proposal, or future procurement. Any type. IFB, any questions? Opportunity type, this is what's going to be shown publicly. So on the posting page, it'll be this kind of opportunity will be displayed. Set aside, I'll pick it for this. Summary, there is, hover over. We've had some, not issues, but special characters can cause some issues. So if you get a call and it's more of I can't find my my solicitation publicly, that might be a good place to start. Come to the summary of the new location and see if there's any like special characters. That's one place that could cause some issues.
So Rich, are you saying if there's a special character in the summary, even though you go through the publishing steps, it won't show on VBO?
So there's been a few issues. I think we've captured most of them, like quotes and ats and like dashes and some like
and
ampersand.
asterisk.
Those should be okay.
Okay.
It's when what's the TM, the trademark,
Oh,
things like that. And it's usually somebody copied a whole bunch of text and pasted it in here. That's when
okay.
it might. But I'm just saying, if that situation comes up, we've seen it before. That's just a good place to look first. Is come to the RFX, look at the summary, and see if maybe there was a special character or something in it. So,
Okay, thank you.
I'll try to look for that ticket number and then paste it in our group chat. So you guys can see the special characters, what exactly they are.
So here, now that it's saved, you can see all the tabs are available now. Let's see, high risk. The newer one was paper response only flag that allow them to kind of turn off electronic responses. I think for this this kind of demo that we'll leave it on. The advanced options, and then external solicitation. If this was VDOT, and so Felicia, here you can see if it was if VDOT sent it in, the information kind of live here. It's a good way to kind of verify how the solicitation got created. VDOT does a lot of imports, so these filled in a lot. Also for converted solicitation, if this was an Advantage IFB or RFP or whatever that was open and converted into the new system, the old reference information will be here. So so when you go and look at it publicly, it will you'll be able to see it. Let's see, anything else? No, so let's create our item. Let's label. Detailed description is new. It's up to 2,000 characters, I believe. And is shown publicly, commodity code. I think it was abrasives, but here for Kim, this is where you can add the commodity code, but again, it's not going to go back and add it to the project automatically. Quantity 10 of each delivery date. When would you want it? It's optional. So, and then the reference and target you can enter. The V for these just means what's going to be shown publicly. So all of them that have that V is what's going to be shown to the supplier. And then we
Rich, can I add something real quick? It's
Sure.
Kimberly again. So even though the unit of measure is not required, we should strongly encourage
Yes.
that people use that field. Because I think that's going to cause some issues in suppliers being confused about what they want if they don't put a unit of measure in there.
Right.
And the commodity code field, I would encourage them to put a commodity code in that.
In the
commodity
line
code.
item,
Yeah. If they know it.
but it's pulling it in from what you've already put in, right?
No.
No, you have to enter it.
Yeah, the commodity code on the project level just builds your supplier list.
Yeah, this is where you're going to enter what you want your suppliers to respond to, specific items.
Does the commodity code matter though, unless it's an IFB, because otherwise
Right.
you're not, it's arbitrary, right? So
And
by
that's why it's optional.
And it will show
Okay.
on the public posting page. So just
Yeah.
any, more information you can give your users. I mean, you don't have to put it, but it just is more information that you can give your users.
But
guess,
the
and it is-
suppliers list is already populated based on what you put in the project.
You don't have to put it, it's not required. It just adds more information.
Just a quick
to what you
question.
po-
Didn't Rich just say that the only items that show on the public posting have the V, which the commodity doesn't?
It doesn't, you're right.
yeah, so that's why I say it's just arbitrary.
Right. Well, here,
Yeah.
that's a good point. I'm going to show you what we do have the preview that what a supplier can see, and you can go through with what you've created so far and see kind of this is what the supplier is going to see. So let's take a look. Response. Information, this is where they're going to add their attachments, discussion. It's not going to be relevant for there. Here we have it that it was a required field. We have the label, detailed description, quantity. Right. But we aren't showing the commodity.
Yeah, that's the vendor responses versus the public posting page though.
right. And
So
then
it shows on the public posting page. just
yeah,
not
it'll
in the vendor.
show. Yeah, it'll show in the on the details page where
Mhm.
it'll have that item tab. It'll show that there. Yeah.
But you don't have, like you said, it's not required. You don't have to put it, just, if they know it, put it, fine. If they don't,
Right. So one thing that's come up is when you save the line item, it creates this kind of empty line item. I know that might trip some people up, even though it says they're required. It's just the header. You'll still be able to submit even though you haven't entered any information. I know there may be some people, it's just the way that the system just creates a new field to be prepared if you're ready to add more line items. But yeah, so that may come up. Oh, do I have to add a new line? No, you don't. So the other options here that you can import and export. So if you have a solicitation that you do, I don't know, monthly or something like that with this kind of the same items, then they can save off a Excel spreadsheet with those line items and then import it in, and then it'll build that list here. So here, you can add grid, you can copy, you can all of that. You can update the response. Where is it? Let's see.
Grid
There it is.
setting.
God.
Mhm.
Was-
I know it's so hard to see, Craig.
Yeah, updated. Come on.
And Felicia, this is how VDOT got theirs to show lot one. Well, they updated it on the Cardinal side, but this is where you can update it on the EVA side to show lot one, Page County.
Yeah, so they can do it here. I think it makes more sense for them to import it in that way, but yeah.
Can you
Right.
show me where that update you just made, where is it showing at?
It's right here. So when the grid, when you come in, the grid says response, but when
Right.
I come to grid settings,
Okay.
updated grid, lot one, and then you can save and close. And then it'll just update here. And then when we show it publicly, you'll see it there as well. So these all be the lines under lot one, and then you can add more grids if you need to. Any other line item questions?
Yeah, so when if someone wants to set up their RFX to have like different lots, you would just add a grid for each lot and then line items under that grid.
Correct.
Okay.
Then here's your new lot. Or you could also duplicate this grid as well. There you go. And then you would just go into grid settings. I think this is lot 3 by now. So close.
And while you're here, Rich, I just want to mention that
Oh, yeah.
this is what we're going to be reviewing when we talk about responding electronically as a supplier with multiple grids. So this is kind of tied to that. If you add more than like 10 grids.
All right, questionnaire. So there's the ability to copy from a template. I'm not 100% sure, and that's something I'll take a look at. If we're going to have templates, I don't know, Tracy or Kimberly, if they've talked about if we're going to actually have available templates out of the
Not
gate.
that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I didn't think so either.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that. We just talked about adding a new one.
Okay, so for adding a questionnaire, each questionnaire really has a section. So general questions, technical questions, financial questions. So everything will start with a section, and then that section will have all of the questions, that you want to ask. I mean, whatever. And then you save, and then it'll set it. You can make it required or not. So if we require, then on the response, it'll be required. Okay, and then you can add a new section. But I think that might be something that come up. How do I create a a questionnaire? That might be, but each one should have a, it should start with a section. Now those questions should be a lot better than that, but I think for this, that's
Can we preview and take a look to show them what it looks like?
let's see if I can make this. No, I made it. Stretch it out. So general, and then they would answer, and technical.
Yeah, thank you. So your section would be general or technical, and then you would have questions under each section.
Right. And
Thank
this
you,
is
sir.
how it would look on the response. So any questions about questionnaires? Okay. All right. Publicly posted documents. And this is where you can kind of pull in from what was done at the project level. And then I'll attach it here. And also create a doc, which is not something I suspect people will be using much of, but new doc. Here. There's one, my test attachment. So okay, and these are what will be shown publicly. Any questions about that? I could see people saying, hey, project level documents, will they be shown publicly? It's no, won't be shown publicly until you bring them to the RFX.
I think it's just important that we stress that they title it to be clear about what it is, because that's what's going to show.
Right. Yeah, forgive my demo doc and stuff like.
Oh, I wasn't,
But-
that wasn't aimed at you, Rich.
Yeah, and so they understand that the difference between the project document versus the RFX document. So it's important that they understand the difference between those two.
Yeah, project level won't be shown publicly until you bring it to the RFX level. So notified suppliers, this is just the list built from the supplier list. Workflow will let you know kind of where we're at in the process. And I'll talk about that as we go through it. And then SWAM, when the cube is running, it will update every 10 minutes. So it'll give you a kind of a layout of your SWAM with your with the vendors that have been chosen, so I can give you kind of an overview of that. Any questions before?
So before you submit, I just wanted to point out, I think we had a question about future publishing a solicitation. And so we don't have that option available in the new tool.
Yeah, not right now.
Yes,
So-
I know that was a question that came up from another agency.
Yeah, that's
So-
a good question. So you can see that we've blanked out the begin date, the solicitation. When you're ready to post it, that's when you need to run through this, submit and have it out there. It's when you're ready to send it out. I think eventually we'll work on allowing future, but for now it's when the solicitation's ready to go, that's when you start to go through the submit process.
And we no longer have a public bid opening date and a pre-bid conference date and time either. It's just the yes
It's
and no check
yes.
boxes, but you can
Right.
add that information via attachment to let your
Right.
users know that.
Right. And that'll be displayed publicly as a message that I will show you in just a minute. So let me start submitting. This is first submit, you'll see it's in draft now, but then it'll go to approved. It's just working through the workflow, and you'll see approval required, no for a sealed sourcing. There are simple sourcing that will do, mostly quick quotes that may require approval. I think maybe in the next, since we're already 42 minutes in, I haven't even submitted this thing yet. I can show that next time, just so, because I'm sure questions will come for sure for that. And hopefully by then we'll know some more about this, about tier stuff and how we're going to handle all that. But for now, let me send this. And this is where it's going to pop up with the list of suppliers. All right. Send and close. You'll see, do you want to open the bidding time at the same time? If you click cancel, it'll go back. I suggest don't cancel. I think Tracy, you know what happens when you cancel. From there, you have to go back and redo it.
Yeah, it puts you in a
kinda sort
crazy
of-
cycle, a crazy loop, so you don't want to do that.
Right.
So it doesn't like just put it on hold. You can go back and submit it when you get ready.
Yeah, I mean, you do, but it messes a little bit with the workflow. So you may have to go back and like revisit a step, or if you're a sealed sourcing, or if you're a simple sourcing, it may require another approval if you
Oh,
cancel out of
okay.
it. So it's just when you're ready to go, that's when you start, the process.
I
So,
can see people selecting cancel. I can see that happening.
yeah.
So,
And the
okay.
revisit step is going away, so people won't have access to that revisit step.
Okay.
To my
And I think-
knowledge, it's going away for, it's just be like admins that will have it.
Yeah, and I think at one time we did that, and then you had no option to submit or do anything with it back
Right. So you
Yes.
need it, yeah,
way back when, Tracy.
way back when.
Yes, so please don't do that.
Yeah, and don't push your end users to do that. When they're ready to go, just have them run through it. So you can see now it's open, and then we can go, let's see, to all opportunity. I was logged in. All opportunity page. You can see new demo. It's automatic, where I think in current eVA, it takes a minute or two for there's a whole bunch of jobs, but now it's instantaneous. So as soon as you submit, it's public. New demo, the title, IFB. This is the agency of my user. Again, the title, the summary, and then all of the information, the document type, the opportunity type, the category, and was a procurement transaction type, I believe, or the when it's closing, time left. So the card looks pretty much the same as it does today. We will go and take a look. This, I pick small business. When it was issued, when it's closing, the buyer doesn't have a phone number. It's just the way the profile was set up. Most of users should have that, but if it does come up, it's just, you have to go into their profile and add their phone number. That's why that's missing. And then here, who it's issued by, again, opportunity type, category, the work location, I put new demo. If you had added a website, it'd be seen here, but this is what Tracy had just kind of called out. Instead of having dates, it'll be open responses, see solicitation, documents, public opening. If this is yes on the sourcing side, it'll put this message. If it's no on there won't be an open responses, then this won't even be shown, this field. It's just conditionally shown when it's yes. And then for pre-bid conference, there's two options. There's yes optional and yes mandatory. We had picked yes optional, so the message is see solicitation documents for optional pre-bid proposal conference site visit. So And then obviously the summary down here. Is there any questions about these two? As Tracy said, we're going away from dates, but that'll be up to the buyer to have in their document when these dates are, if necessary.
Just one question.
Sure.
Would public opening have quotes around it or something? I mean, because just you got the P capitalized and the O capitalized there.
Oh, yeah. That's funny. Good eye. I didn't even notice that. Will there be public opening? Nah, probably not for go live, but yeah, for that kind of a change, not this close. That is sounds
I
like
would,
an
as a follow-up
EVUT.
to that,
Yeah.
I mean, if it's not gonna be fixed for go live, then to me, agencies should have a section in their document titled public opening information. See solicitation documents, public opening information. That's just a
That
suggestion.
seems like a more of a a section than it is
Yeah.
just a general informational kind of.
And
Right.
Pam, you had a question there about what DPS is going to be doing. But I would suggest you talk to Monique or Beth about that. If they're going to change about having the bids due one day and opening the next, that's probably something that's going to be need to spell out in the solicitation document. But I would suggest you talk to them about that as to how they're going to handle that.
Okay. So items here. So it didn't add the second grid because I didn't add any line item information, so it didn't pull it in. But you can see, yes, it does have the NIGP code. If you populate it, is the detailed description, the quantity, and then the delivery date. Now,
So
this
that is
just-
the NIGP code you added at the line level?
Yes.
Okay.
I think there is a I don't know, EVUT or a thought to add like a new tab for commodities and add the project level commodities as a list. I think we have in VBO right now, I think we just, because we don't have line items, we have a list of commodities. So that is something that I think not day one, but eventually may come in here as we'll have just a list of the project level commodities as well.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. But again, this is RFX information. So to be able to pull it in from the project level is, a little bit more difficult. So, but that's probably why it hasn't been done yet. But I do see that coming eventually. So questionnaires, here's how it's laid out, general, technical, and then whether it was required or not. B2B is B2B. So if they want to, while the solicitation is open, want to partner with somebody else, or at least put a message that they're willing to, then they can do it here. They can also follow or unfollow the activity like they can today. There was really no changes to that. Then respond online, let's add to favorites, print, email this opportunity. Again, these are all what they can do today. Really no changes. This is just how we're mapping the information is what was changed. You can see the project level documents are here. So any questions about the public view? Let's see if I got kicked out or not. Yeah, we only have 9 minutes left. We'll get as far as we can, and then Tracy will just, I know we'll meet more often, but all right. Okay, so I'm logged in as a supplier, and now I'm going to respond. This is the kind of the page that they're dropped on. The information again And then click here to start your proposal. It's UAT for you. All right, again, informational for the overview. Response information. So if I wanted to add some attachments. Again, these are test attachments. So discussions, if you want to have internal discussions with a team who's responding to this is one option they can use. And then here we're down to the items where delivery date. They also have the option to yes, no, like they do today. And then response here, there was no information in that response. And then here's updated grid 3. So I think what Tracy, and Tracy, we'll just have to set it up and have it ready next time instead of creating it, is one that has more than 10 grids. If you can see, it's not top down for each grid, it's tab view going across. So you can imagine once you get past 10, then we got scrolling all the way to the right. That can make it a little cumbersome for the supplier. So that's why I think we're coming up with 10 grids, or could be something to discuss with the field about trying not to get too much farther than that.
Yeah, we're saying if you add more than 24, I think it was, then it'll be hard to, like Rich showed how you can tab over, just keep tabbing over. It's hard for them to tab over. It doesn't allow them to tab over to all of the grids.
Right.
You can import, well, you can export the item list, and then they can fill it out on the Excel spreadsheet, and then they can import it back in. And that works, but we want them to still verify that information before they submit it. And it's hard for them to verify that information on each of the tabs because they will not be able to get to 24, 25, 26, 27.
Right.
That's why we're trying to stop it at 10 grids. There's no more than 10 grids. If they need to segment it like that, they can utilize that detailed description field or the label field to kind of add that information in there. Maybe it's the line items for Henrico County or something like that. You can put that information in the detailed description field or the label field.
Now, we also went back and looked at the current advantage to kind of see, how many solicitations have been done that have actually gone past 10. And I think, I don't know, Tracy, I don't know how many, when I showed you that there was 9 over 20 years that had gone over a certain amount, I can't remember the amount of grids, but it was quite a few. So it's not something that happens very often. And it looks like it's even less than a year that we do something that has 15, 20 grids or something in it. But it's just informational to maybe have more lines than have, segment everything into a grid. It's just, it'll make it easier for everybody.
So the system doesn't limit the number of grids.
No.
You're just saying that suppliers may miss it because they can't see them all.
Yeah, you can't, you'll be able to see them all, but it just, once you get past, I think it's like 17 or something like that, it just gets really, really hard to,
Okay.
because once you're done with that grid, then it'll bring you all the way back to the first grid. It's cumbersome.
Yeah, it'll
All right.
display on the public posting page and everything, and the supplier can respond to it.
Yeah.
It's just when they go in, they can download the Excel line item, and then they can upload them, and then they'll be able to respond to each one of them like that. But if they were trying to come to this tab right here and click on update grid 1, response, update grid 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Once they get to a certain number of grid, they will not be able to navigate to the next one. It'll just keep putting them back at the first grid.
Okay.
Right, so, and also let's remember, when do suppliers usually try to respond to these solicitations?
The last minute.
Yeah, and if
Yeah.
they're having trouble bouncing back and forth the last minute, it's gonna be, you know, so,
And is there a limit to the number of line items?
no, we've done, how many have we done? 1,000 line items?
Yeah, we've done tested 1,000 so far, yeah.
Yeah, so,
No limit to line items, but how about within a grid?
no,
No?
Yeah, that's the
Okay.
same, yeah, it's the same.
Okay.
And I've looked
Yeah.
at the spreadsheet, and I think we only had 32 is the highest number of.
You know what I was thinking
lots
about,
in the old
Tracy?
system.
You know what I'm thinking about, right? That solicitation, that
Yeah.
monster solicitation we've had problems with.
yeah,
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
yes. So if they need to do one of those, please have them to reach out to you first, or, you know, let someone know before they submit anything. And then we can, you know, before they even go in the system and create it. So then we might can help them craft it in a better way.
right. Split it up and, you know, in
Yes.
better grids or something like that, but yeah, we've done imported, exported over 1,000. So I think that 330 line one you're talking about wouldn't be an issue. So, and because everything is so connected with the new tool, you know, where contract management, it's kind of a built on something like that. And then you have to send them to Ariba, which is what the issue kind of we're facing with now with the supplier error. We won't have those kinds of issues, fortunately. So if only they could have waited until the new system. So
And it's a current ticket out here for this issue
yeah,
too.
I know.
So I just wanted to share that with the team. So it's being worked. It just might not be done before go live. So, and we're gonna send a comms out in reference to this issue too. So that's to come. I think
Now,
that's gonna
right. And
go
again,
out.
there's not that many really
No.
that have come into this. I think a tester got really too excited about this potential issue, where it's only happened maybe a dozen times in the 20 years that it's been.
Yeah, and the target group that we're gonna send the comms out to is the agencies that have done procurements that had multiple grids on it. Well,
Right.
or lots. I'm gonna say,
VDOT and
yeah.
so Felicia, yeah. And whoever else might work with them.
I
for
mean,
sure.
I would recommend we send it out to everybody because it may
Yeah.
come up.
Yeah.
Why are we targeting just those that have done it in the past? That's just my opinion.
I'll share that
Okay.
and see if, you know, they want to expand it to, you know, all the buyers. It's also going to be talked about on the bug meeting. I just don't have if it's going to be talked about on the 13th, October 13th bug meeting, or if it's going to be one after that. I just don't have that information yet. So I'll let you know on the group chat as soon as I get that information.
Okay. Now I know we've run up against it. And I know we'll have, you know, quite a few of these meetings, maybe even twice a week, but I think, has anything come out about from Shane, Lisa, about the tier, how that's going to be handled yet? Has that been finalized? I haven't heard anything yet, but that doesn't mean.
Yeah, we did have a meeting to talk about tiers and
Okay.
the which teammates were going to be on the tiers, assigned to the tiers. It is a page in Confluence. I want to say they have that.
I meant like after that one. Yeah, the Shane one. Yeah, I know where we're kind of setting out who the teams were, but I'm talking about like how everything's going to be handled, how we're routing everything. I didn't know if that was finalized yet. I've seen meetings going on about it. I just didn't know if you guys had heard.
Yeah,
Nothing's been communicated to us that I'm
Okay.
aware of. Yeah.
yeah, nothing recent.
Rich, before Felicia had question in the chat
Oh,
about
okay.
what does the response, why does the response tab appear if there are no lines? On that one where you forgot to put lines in it,
Yeah,
but it's still
that's-
showing for the suppliers.
Yeah, I'll take a look at that. I think most everybody puts in a line, but yeah, I noticed that too, is the response. That maybe somebody was trying to do something as, maybe they would try to do something as an attachment, but I don't know why they would have that response line. At least it doesn't restrict the vendor from submitting if a buyer accidentally had an extra grid that didn't have any, line information. But that's the answer I can give right now.
I was just thinking that if it's there, the supplier may think that it's something wrong with the system and they're just not able to see that one.
Right.
And it's going to warn a lot, the calls to the
some
buyer saying, hey, we
questions, yeah.
can't see that. Yeah.
Right. And then the buyer would have to say, well, it accidentally submitted with a grid with no information in it. But yeah, that could cause some heartache, especially for those suppliers rushing to get their response in. So okay, so this is the supply. I did a submit. Let me go back to here. This is still open, but you can, and if a buyer or somebody calls in and says, hey, I submitted something. Let's see if I will show it or not. They're still sealed, so it's not going to show. All right. So Tracy, we can end it here for now, but then pick it up. When should we meet again? When can we meet again?
I
I was
got a
gonna
quick
open,
question real quick.
What's that?
I have a quick question.
Sure.
So I work with a lot of local government clients, and for the most part, all they want to do is just post their solicitation and maybe update the status of their solicitation.
Right.
Now, I wasn't sure if that was ever, if it was ever clarified that they'll be able to just post a solicitation just for their advertisement and update the status. Now, I noticed that there is a section for, I think it's a public notice or public posting. That's an option. No, like when you're selecting the project.
so they would have to, in order to get that status to update it to award it, they would have to come in and add a response, add the responses, and then go ahead and then pick the trophy to award your supplier.
Yeah.
And then click on post publish award. If they don't want to do the intent, they can click on the publish award tab, and then if they can add an attachment and then publish the award, and that would update the public posting status to award it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so they wouldn't be able to post the solicitation just for the advertisement. They're basically looking for something more like VBO buyer. That's not going to be an option. I just wanted to clarify.
Right.
No, because it's going to still say closed. Once it closes, this public posting status is going to say closed.
Yep.
And then they would have to go in and, like I said, click on that publish award
Yeah.
tab.
When they have to get the status to update, they still need to kind of complete
Yeah.
the procurement. So
They could enter a paper response for the supplier they want to award to, and then click the trophy icon and then publish it.
right.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and that'll update the status right away on the public posting. So,
Okay. Appreciate it. I
Yeah,
just wanted
good.
to clarify.
yeah, good question.
So I wanted to check with everyone while we have everyone on the call to see, because we're going to start meeting, I think once a week or every. How do we want to set this up to meet once a week to discuss any issues?
Yeah.
Or if you have any questions, or you can, if it's a time that we're not meeting, you can always add it to the group chat. So what day and time would everyone be available typically?
I'm good in the afternoons. So
Okay.
usually like 2 or 3.
Yeah, there is no specific date or time for
Yeah.
me. It's just, if you can, I mean, I think you schedule it when most people can be there.
Right.
So is a Wednesday, is everybody, that's kind of like in the middle of the
But
week?
UAT's down on Wednesdays, right?
Yeah, it's down around at 2. So, and then
So we
we'll
wouldn't be able
verify.
to demo anything.
All right, we could do it before. We could do it just another day.
So is this time good for everyone? Or you said in the evenings would be better for you, Rich?
Yeah, and I think we shouldn't wait till Friday to get through it.
So maybe a Tuesday?
Just in case we need to have like another one, this demo that we
Yes.
try to, get through all the way to award. We got through just, responding online. So we haven't done adding a paper, multiple awarding, there's quite a whole nother probably hour of that.
What about
Yeah.
an hour twice a week? Is that too much?
I think that's probably a good idea.
Mhm.
Maybe like a Tuesday.
Maybe Tuesday,
that's-
Thursday?
Right.
Okay. So every Tuesday or Thursday for an hour. So let me write that down.
Yeah. And so I'm not talking for an hour and a half because
Yeah, it's too much.
yeah.
Okay, and the times, how about
2 to 3,
yeah, that's what I was gonna say, 2 to 3.
and
I'm good with
everybody's
that.
available, join, and if not, maybe if they have questions, they can send it in the chat.
And you can, the chat is always open. So if you have questions, you can send it in the chat and then we can roll through whatever questions you have. If you want to see it when we meet up.
So Tracy, were you able to set that up so it doesn't go away ever?
Yes.
Or is it gonna go away after a couple of days?
Oh, wait.
Because it
Is-
chats.
I
and
pinned it. Yeah, I think that it does go away after a couple of days, after that week. I think by the end of the week, it goes away. So let me,
Well, we'll
I'm
have new
still-
meetings since then, or after
Right.
that, so we can just use.
Oh,
the new
Joanne,
meeting.
I'm not, I mean, usually my chat it stays up for a couple of days
Okay.
and then it goes away.
yeah, see, I pinned it. I pinned our group, but I think the chat messages within the group, they disappear after like a week, I think.